don't like it. It feels horrible. No, I'd say that's not marked. That's not marked. That's good, right? This is my Fujifilm X-Pro3. I've owned this since new. It's the only camera I've ever bought new. And years ago when I got it, it just sparked such a massive love for photography with me. I could take it everywhere. It was rugged, you know, it's got the dents to prove it. But I just loved using it. And then over the years, you know, I've got to do this amazing role where I get to try loads of different cameras and I get sucked in by all different tech. But the X-Pro3 I could just never bring myself to sell or get rid of. And now Fujifilm have just released the brand new X-Pro3. So today I thought, what better way to test it out than to go around my own stomping grounds where I always used to shoot with the X-Pro3 and try out the X-Pro3 and see if it can still spark that total love of taking pictures with me. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the X-Pro3 screen. It is a bold move by Fuji, to say the least. So what we now have as standard is this small sort of shooting screen here. It looks like what you get sometimes on the top panel LCD of some DSLRs and some mirrorless. Now on this you can show your shooting settings like I've got it set up for because I think that's useful, or you can have it set to show your film simulation type. Then of course you have the hidden LCD screen. Look at that. You're either going to like it or you're not. I mean, realistically, since I've been shooting with it this morning for 5 minutes, there's been a couple of occasions where I've gone to look at it just out of habit and it's not there and it's slightly, but you know, I'm sure after shooting with it for a few hours, that will go off. It's going to be a love it or hate it. At the moment, I'm still on the fence, so we'll see how we go. Now we've gone for a little bit of a walk, the sun's a little bit higher in the sky, and naturally I would start to use the viewfinder a little bit more here. But I'm sort of forced to do that anyway because Fuji have sort of made it an all or nothing in terms of viewing on the back of the camera. So the viewfinder on the X-Pro3 is the same as X-Pro2 and X-Pro1. It's a hybrid viewfinder, of course. You've got an EVF in there and an optical viewfinder. You also have a mode where you can have a miniature EVF pop up inside your optical viewfinder for checking exposure or focus. So that's really nice. They've improved both of those viewfinders too, so the optical viewfinder's a lot clearer, it's got a better field of view vertically, so you don't have to push your eye quite as hard to the camera, which I know a lot of Fuji users will be really pleased to hear. The EVF is a 3.69 million dot EVF. Now it's not the best on the market by far, but nobody else runs a hybrid viewfinder like this. And it is brilliant to use. You can put yourself in the optical viewfinder mode, you can compose because you've got such a wide field of view, you can get your shot, and then you can quickly, using this switch, flick over to your electronic viewfinder, check your exposure, make sure everything's looking good, and click the button. So in terms of shooting and usability, it's lovely. So we just stopped to grab a drink and warm up inside the pub for a little bit. But now I'm back to tell you a little bit more about the specs of the X-Pro3. So internally, it is the same internals as the X-T3. So that means it's got a 26 megapixel APS-C size X-Trans 4 sensor, and we've got an X processor 4. In terms of what's new with features, we've got a new film simulation mode. They're going to do classic negative film simulation mode. We've got a new black and white mode, which is monochrome, and they've said it's a push towards monochrome blue. So let's take a look at the design. Obviously, we've already spoke about this enough, even though I don't think anyone's going to ever stop talking about it for years to come. In terms of the ports and things like that, we've got a USB-C charging port, which is great. Everyone should be USB-C by now. Just should be a standard. We've got a mic input as well, but no headphone jack. For the type of camera, completely what would be expected. We've got a double SD card slot, which is good. Other manufacturers take note. Everyone should be doing that in this sort of price range of camera now. Battery is the same battery as Fuji always have in these style of cameras. Fuji have made this camera really efficient in the way it uses that battery. And if you're taking shots using the viewfinder, you can get up to 370 shots, which is a massive improvement over the X-Pro2, which was rated to 280. So it's a huge improvement there, really, really good. Now the body itself. So the middle here, the middle black bit that we always see is made of magnesium alloy. That's very standard. Most cameras are made of magnesium alloy. However, the top plate and the bottom plate are made of titanium. You can get this camera in black, Dura Silver and Dura Black. Now Dura is D-U-R-A, and it's the type of coating that they put on instead of paint. The Duratec coating is incredibly, incredibly hard. It's about 10 times harder than stainless steel, which is pretty good. And in fact, I was messing about with it yesterday, and I couldn't scratch, I mean, I could have done if I tried really hard, but you know, with normal items, I couldn't scratch this thing. And in fact, I can see my car keys and I feel like I need to prove this to you now. X-Pro3 versus my house key. I don't like it. It feels horrible. I am actually doing it, I'm sure you can see. Now, it looks like it's marking it. I'm hoping it's not, so, oh. No, I'd say that's not marked. That's not marked. That's good, right? I should have probably tested it on the base plate, but I'm good. I'm all good, I'm not fired yet. To finish off with the X-Pro3 today, I've come into Brighton, where obviously you can come to somewhere like the Lanes and it's just perfect for street photography. Now I've put on the 23mm, which works excellently because obviously that's like an equivalent 35 with the APS-C size sensor of the X-Pro3. So we're gonna go and take some shots and see how it gets on as the light drops out a little bit. So I'm shooting this shot on ISO 1600 because it is quite dark in these alleyways. But that's okay because the X-Pro3 can actually focus down to -6 EV, which is madness. The way to think about that, I mean, this is not dead on, but it's like having a big dark room and having one candle in the corner that lights it. So that's pretty dark, so it should be okay with just a kind of dull, shadowy light. A really popular feature of the X series is obviously the film simulation mode. Now there is a new film simulation in the X-Pro3 which is classic negative. Now obviously this goes back to the film days of Fuji again, goes back to that, so I'm just going to take some shots here so you can see the differences between. So I'm going to start off with Provia, which is standard. Take that shot. So that second one is Velvia. Then this one is Astia, which is soft. Then we have Classic Chrome. And then we have Pro Neg High. We have Pro Neg Standard. Then this is the new Classic Neg. It just allows you to get a little bit more creative in camera. And if it means, you know, you don't have to go through editing everything afterwards, you know, you can just run the JPEGs through this, especially if it's like holiday shots or you're out shooting, you want to get things uploaded straight away. It's quite a nice little feature. So the last thing to talk about with the X-Pro3 is movie. Now honestly, nobody's going to be buying this just to do movie, that's not going to happen. However, if you are buying this to be your travel camera, to be your family camera, your holiday camera, then you need to know it does good footage. Now it does, because it's pretty much the same as the X-T3, no IBIS, you've got still 4K up to 30p, you can do HD at 120 frames per second, so you do have some decent slow motion in there, which is really nice. You've got picture profiles, you can shoot really flat profiles, so there is a lot of scope to do stuff with this camera. We wanted to test how usable that is, so in a separate video we're going to be doing a full test shoot at Bichocolat. So if you want to see that, in the description below there'll be a link, check that out. Now what have I thought about the camera overall today? With this rangefinder style, I do find myself composing with both eyes, then going back to my dominant eye and using that optical viewfinder, the EVF. I have liked using it, and I have felt it slows you slightly. You take more time getting the image rather than just clicking away, because to be honest, you don't want to be checking every time. It makes you be slower because it sort of gives you hassle if you're not, which I kind of like. I think that's quite a nice feature. So some people like it, some people won't. If you pop into any of our stores, you can test it out. Go and have a play, see how you feel with it, because I think that's the important thing about this camera, getting a feel for this new design from the X-Pro series. And if you need any more information, of course you can pop onto our website. There's loads of info on there. You can check out our blog, which also has a load of info and links to the website. You can give us a call, send us an email. Again, pop into any of our stores or put a comment below and we will try our best to get back to you with all the info that you need. Thanks for watching.